Hello, everybody. Welcome to the world's greatest Bronze Age Spider-Man podcast. Here comes the Spider-Cast. I'm your co-host, Michael, and as always, I'm joined by
Joshua Mervell, and today we are taking a look at Spidey Comics from October of 1989.
That's right, and we are joined by Bex Luthor.
Sorry, y'all. It's just me.
Welcome back.
We don't mind.
Well,
we don't mind, I guess.
We'll take what we can get. Anyway.
I mean, I'd rather talk to nobody, but you're all right, I guess, as a second option.
Anyway, so as everybody knows, in case you haven't heard the sad news, the podcast is wrapping up soon. We've got about, what episode are we on here? 167?
67, I believe,
We'll be wrapping it up around 178, so be ready for that. Mark it on your calendars.
Good old round number.
Yeah.
178.
But don't worry, because we already have some ideas in the pipeline for what we're doing as a follow-up. No, it's not going to be Quasar Chronology coming back. We have other ideas. Hopefully they're better than Quasar Chronology, but we'll see.
Yeah, we already reviewed every comic that Quasar's ever been in and ever will be in.
No, we only did the pre-solo series Quasar appearances, so there's still a lot to do, but don't give me any ideas, Becca.
What's Quasar up to these days?
I think he's dead. I'm honestly not sure.
Who are we casting Quasar in the MCU?
Michael
That's
Cera.
what I want to know. Michael
Cera.
Michael
Cera. There you go.
That's actually so good.
You don't think I've already thought about
perfect.
this?
What?
I think he's perfect. You're right.
Whoa.
Why did I think of that? Anyway.
I love that.
And then he could get jacked. He could get Marvel jacked.
Oh my god. That would be really great.
You heard it here
Done.
first, folks.
Okay,
I figured it out.
Well, until that happens, we're going to be talking about Spidey. We're starting off with Web of Spider-Man, number 55. And I'm going to be recapping that real quick before we jump into discussion. So, the non-mutant superhero. We got Showdown. So we're picking up at the gang war. The Lobo brothers are just like destroying New York. Spidey's chasing them through the city. We get this like little scene where one of them lights like the theater on fire or something, and the big marquee outside is collapsing. And Spidey comes in and webs the marquee up, and he's pulling it so everybody underneath has time to run and escape before it falls to the ground. And of course, Nick Katzenberg, the rival photographer for the Daily Bugle, who has been feeding J. Jonah Jameson and the fake Jonah Jameson when he was standing in, like shitty pictures of Spider-Man to show that he's like, or like fake that he's a bad guy, takes a picture of him as he lets go of the marquee and it crashes to the ground. And he's gonna go bring it to JJ now. Because of this, though, the Lobo brothers end up getting away. Peter loses them. We catch back with them as they're heading back to their hotel, and we're seeing like a POV from Gloria Grant, who is one of the Lobo brothers' girlfriends. I can't remember which one.
Eduardo. Yeah.
And so she's kind of concerned. She kind of foreshadows that there's only one way that this could possibly end, and it's not going to be good for the Lobo brothers and Eduardo. So we cut away. The Arranger is fortifying Kingpin's lair after the Lobo brothers broke in. Kingpin shows back up, scares the shit out of Arranger. He's like completely terrified because now he has a huge target on his back now that the Lobo brothers know that the Arranger is the one that set up the like assassination attempt on them. So Kingpin's kind of like, listen, we're gonna set up a meeting with the Lobo brothers, and it's gonna be peaceful. We're gonna call this off and do a team up and fight the rest of the gang war together with the Lobo brothers. And it turns out that the Chameleon was secretly there, disguised as one of the construction workers that is helping to fix Kingpin's lair. He runs into his boyfriend Hammerhead's car and tells Hammerhead that they're gonna kind of do an ambush. Cut back to the Bugle. Katzenberg is showing the photos, and it's obvious that Peter is there with photos of Spider-Man saving the day, but the ones that Nick took looks like Spider-Man is causing the mayhem. Mm-hmm. And J. Jonah Jameson is kind of deciding which one he's going to run with. Mm-hmm. Like, Spider-Man is a menace or Spider-Man saved the day. And then, not Gloria Grant, Kate Cushing walks in and pretty much says, if you don't run with the truth, I'm quitting on the spot. And J. Jonah Jameson's like, yeah, I was always going to do that. So they run away, not run away. They leave the office, and then she tells Peter that she thinks something is wrong with Gloria. She's been following her around, and she now knows that she's involved with Eduardo Lobo and might have something to do with this gang war going on. Nick overhears this and decides that he's going to go try and take pictures and uses this as like a little tip. So Pete tries to talk to Gloria Grant for a whole 10 seconds before he looks at his watch and says, oops, gotta go hang out with MJ, and brushes her off and like, rushes out of the conversation. He just kind of yells over his shoulder, like, follow your heart, you'll know what to do. Goes to see MJ. She's at this like apartment that they're looking at getting, because again, they're living out of Aunt May's house. It's this shitty place that's way out of their budget, so they're not going to go for it. We cut back over to Peter as he's in his Spidey costume. He's following Gloria Grant and is able to get to the Lobo brothers. Follows their van down to, I think this is possibly Central Park. I can't even remember where this is. It's some big park with like a big globe statue. And this is where the meeting is going to happen between the Lobo brothers and Kingpin. So they start talking. The Lobo brothers want the Arranger in exchange for a peace treaty. And just as that's happening, a bunch of cars show up, and it turns out that it's Chameleon and Hammerhead. And all of the gang members pop out of their cars and start shooting, and it's this big shootout. Kingpin is punching werewolves, and so is Spider-Man, and the Ranger's trying to get away, and a gun, like, there's just like bodies flying everywhere, guns everywhere. Gloria Grant sees a gun fall to the ground as the Ranger like drops it after being attacked by one of the werewolves. Kingpin is just like bitch slapping people left and right. It all kind of like ends when everybody pretty much is dead. Kingpin is able to knock out one of the brothers. And the only people that are kind of left are Spider-Man and Eduardo. And they're kind of wrestling and tackling with each other. And Gloria Grant decides to step in and shoots, but accidentally shoots Eduardo and kills him. Spider-Man kind of thanks her for saving him, and she says, like, that was a mistake. I was aiming for you. My friend Peter told me to follow my heart, and I tried. I'm so sorry. And then that's kind of where things end. Kingpin gets away, and then the last panel we see Nick, this little slime ball, is in the bushes taking pictures of all of this that just happened. And that's where we leave off this issue.
So I'll just say quickly, I actually really like this ending with Gloria Grant seeming to save Spidey. Then we find out she was actually aiming for Spider-Man. That's a great ending. The rest of the issue, despite the fact that it was kind of the climax of the gang war, I thought it was a little messy and all over the place. I didn't love it, but I did like the fact that Kingpin for once is not all-knowing and all-seeing and all-powerful, and the fact that he's willing to at least suggest that he's going to give up territory to other people. But other than that, I thought it was kind of a mess. Becca, what did you think?
God, Peter's an idiot, eh? Like, just the dumbest, smartest man in the room, always. I love how he goes so from, an opportunity to talk to Gloria. That's exactly what I needed. Talks to Gloria. I gotta go. I don't know. I can't help you. Like, immediately. I also like that Gloria was aiming for him. That silver bullet comes back from previous stories. The Arranger had a silver bullet made. The Kingpin also has a silver-tipped cane, so that's fun for him.
Even though it looks like a diamond.
Yeah, it glistens in the moonlight, but all right. I guess it's silver. I guess it's shiny. He keeps it polished. So only one of the Lobo brothers is dead. The other one was just knocked out, right?
I believe so.
Yes.
Yeah. Kind of an interesting way for him to go. Yeah, I think the issue was fine. It was kind of a lot of, like, faffing about, though, eh?
Yeah.
Which, it is the end of a gang war. There's gonna be a shootout, I suppose. I think it was just a little bit messy because, like, for me, it feels like there's too many players and I'm not exactly sure what they want to do with them. So, like, they all have to be fighting somebody. So, like, the Ranger's there, and Kingpin's there, and Spider-Man's there, and there's 2 werewolves, and then all of the goons, which aren't even, like, relevant because they just get mowed down by Hammerhead's guys. It's alright.
Exactly.
Superman's in it. Did you see Superman?
Say what?
When Peter's going to the apartment, there's a guy with a Superman shirt.
Oh, really? I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, right when Peter leaves Gloria.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That was the one thing I remember from this issue. I was like, oh, yeah, Superman. He's got a beard.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You know what? I don't think that's really Superman.
No, it's not.
What?
Okay.
Are you sure?
Anyway, I mean, I do love me some Alex Saviuk, but I thought maybe I'm just getting sick of this, but it's looking a little bit sloppy. I don't know. A little bit sloppy.
I think this issue maybe looks a little bit sloppy near the end because of the chaos.
Yeah,
of the ending, because I think that the pencils themselves, I think, look good. The figure drawing is great, like the anatomy. It's just sometimes everything kind of gets lost and you can't really follow the action a whole lot at times. Yeah, I don't know. This one, I really did enjoy it up until I think this showdown, and even like parts of the showdown I liked.
You mean the ending, like the
yeah.
Okay.
Like I liked when they're kind of just talking to each other. I like how they're like, yeah, we'll be part of your team as long as you hand over that guy. You know, trying to like get the Arranger. That's funny. I love that Chameleon and Hammerhead are just like smoking cigars, chilling while all this is going down. It's really great. But everything else is just messy in the end. I also love the idea of Gloria aiming for Spider-Man, but in the fight ends up shooting Eduardo, and that like whole mix-up, and like Spider-Man thinks that she's trying to save him, but it was an accident. I like that. I think the setup of it was really messy with Peter leaving and ditching her, and the whole like kind of crux of this thing happening with like the follow your heart line is a little like
that's a good point. That's a good
messy.
Point.
It would have also been, I think, better than a big shootout if like maybe the Arranger wasn't there and it was Kingpin and some goons, and then like maybe the Chameleon and Hammerhead could show up and they've captured the Arranger or something, and that's kind of like how the ambush happens, and they're like bargaining, you know what I mean? Sure. So it's not like just shooting, because like it's not very easy to follow in comic book format. If this was a movie or a show or something, it would be very cinematic and it would be pretty clear as to what's happening. Mm-hmm. But because it's just like still images of gunfire, it kind of just looks like weird snippets of what actually happened. We're not really seeing the action of where the bad guys are, where the good guys are. They're all dressed the same, so I'm not even sure who's who. Kingpin just kind of like punches the werewolves a couple of times, and then Spidey's tackling them, but we don't really follow them a whole lot either in this big confrontation, so we're not even really getting like their action scenes told well. So something slow. And I know it's comics and like obviously the big action stuff is going to be like more fun for kids and you know what kind of like sells, but I think it would have been way better if it was like a slow like standoff type of confrontation at the end. But
you know, I think you might have hit the nail on the head because like there would have been more tension to not have any shootout, to just have like people pointing guns at each other and having really good dialogue. Like I don't know what, but that's their job, right? To write it. But it ends up just being a lot of chaos. And you're right. In a comic book, I mean, at least in this comic book, it's hard to keep track of what's going on because you're right. I'm looking at it right now. It's like shooting. I don't know who is on what side. I don't know what's going on. And yeah, it might have been better to tone down the violence actually, and just not tone it down, but make it less chaotic.
Yeah.
What do you think, Becca?
Why is Gloria there? Like they try to explain it so much, but it makes absolutely no sense when you think about it. Like, why would she be there? Why would anyone allow that? Edward's like, I want to bring my girlfriend, and his brother's like, no, that's stupid. What if the shit happens and we have to werewolf out? Like, it's gonna obviously happen. It like they just really shoehorn her in there so that she can shoot him at the end.
Right.
So that's kind of a little messy. And like it makes it even messier because like she's shoehorned in throughout the issue where he's like, oh, I'll bring my girlfriend. Like they make it a point to it, whereas like they could have had her just follow Edward because she's concerned about him, and she shows up, and then the ranger pulls a gun and somebody knocks it out of his hand. Spider-Man knocks it out of his hand. It flies over to where Gloria's hiding behind some bushes. The werewolf, like, a shootout happens. Werewolves start fighting. Gloria grabs the gun and shoots Eduardo. Same kind of ending, but makes a little more sense.
Good point.
It's just like she's in the van as they're driving to like this standoff. It's really funny.
Or if they knew this was going to happen, they could have set something up like in this whole arc, right? Like maybe his anger issues keep coming out, and which is like making him like lose control when he's in werewolf form. So she's like there to calm him down or something. You know what I mean? Like
right.
Something like give her an actual reason to be there up until this point.
Yeah, like ideally the character has to be there. It's not just coincidence that they're there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. You know what the other thing about the art is that I know that Alex Saviuk and Sal Buscema were definitely either instructed to or voluntarily imitated Todd McFarlane's like Spider-Man's eyes and Mary Jane's hair. But I think one of the reasons, like if you look at original page 15 at the bottom, you can see the Todd McFarlane style spaghetti webbing making the frame of the panel. That's a McFarlane thing. And then a couple pages later, there's a weird Spider-Man is on the globe, and the globe becomes the panels of the rest of the page, which is not bad. It's not a bad thing. But then the next page, we have this weird sequence that I didn't even notice the first time I read it, where Eduardo is coming into the car as Gloria is getting shot at, and she's kind of hiding underneath the car. But if you look on the right, there's these little red, almost like insert panels that are showing the moon rising, the full moon rising. But they're so kind of disjointed that I didn't even, like, my eye didn't even go to them when I first read this, because they don't really look like they're in sequence, you know? I don't know. It's just kind of like, I appreciate these experimenting, but it doesn't really suit him though, I don't think. You know?
Yeah, he's definitely trying to mimic that interesting panel work, but I don't think it's cohesive enough, like how Todd McFarlane makes his panel work part of the art. Right. It's like they were like, oh, what if this would be a cool thing to have? Let's put it on the side of the page.
Right.
It's not as thought out, I think.
Exactly. Okay, so we talked a lot about Web of Spider-Man 55. We should probably wrap it up. I guess the question is, Josh, do you recommend this issue?
I know I did a lot of shit talking about the ending and how it was rough, but I did kind of enjoy this one still. This gang war is definitely much better than the first one. It seems like they're kind of going at it at a nice pace, and some of these characters are kind of fun. The absolute ending is definitely worth this read, I think. And if you're reading the Gang War especially, this is like for sure recommend.
Bex Luthor.
Whatever your name is, the third one. Yeah. Don't worry, I got it. I know my place. You there, girl.
Hey, you.
Yeah.
You.
What are you, my dad? Jesus. That one.
Anyway.
The third one. Yeah, no, I agree with Josh. I think I like this Gang War much more than the previous one. Definitely recommend this over that one. At least everyone has a reason to be here.
Right.
Unlike the previous one. So, yeah. And it is more interesting because there's werewolves. So, recommend from me.
Always more interesting. So, yeah, I don't think it's a great issue, but I have to kind of recommend it because it wraps up the storyline. But it's a little bit weak, except the ending. I do like the ending. So, I'll leave it at that. And now, Bex Luthor, I believe you're going to summarize the next 2 issues, right?
Here we go.
All right, Amazing Spider-Man.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Do you want me to do just one issue at a time, or?
Yeah. Well, What do you think, Josh? Should you do both?
If you honestly,
let's just do the one, and then we'll do the next one because it'll be easier than trying to flip back and forth, right?
Okay.
Sure.
So we got Paladin and Silver Sable. Remember them? And they're here. We start where we left off last time with Peter working with Paladin for the Silver Sable, and they're fighting all of those guys who work for the Life Foundation. For those people who don't know who the Life Foundation is, not important. They're irrelevant, really, until like later. They haven't done anything really yet, right? They're just like.
I don't think so. Not
the
much.
background ominous businnesmen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't remember what they did last. Like, why?
They are working with some Nazi guy.
That's what. Right, they're Nazis. I forgot.
Right, yeah, I forgot that they're Nazis.
Right.
So yeah, Peter and Paladin are fighting. Peter distracts all of the people that they're fisticuffing with, so that Paladin can steal some assorted computer disks. And he does this by flipping over an entire truck, so that's fun. I like the juxtaposition of Paladin trying to flip the truck over and Peter just one fingers it. That's always great. So they have a little tussle, and then then he takes the discs, and Peter leaves, and he talks about how poor he is one more time because we can't forget that he's poor. And he takes the train home. And by taking the train, he just sits atop of the subway and takes it home. We go back over to the Life Foundation really quickly, and what's his name? Drake. I don't remember his first name. Nathan Drake. So not Nathan Drake.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Nathan Lubinsky?
No. The Life Foundation guy.
Mr. Drake,
I don't know his name.
Carlton Drake.
Carlton.
That's his name.
Sure.
Yeah, so they're talking about how this might be an interesting opportunity for them to do some field testing, and we'll find out what that is later. And then he says something about the Protectors. So keep that in the back burner. We go back to Aunt May's house where Peter and Mary Jane are living, and Peter and Mary Jane are talking in the kitchen because in the last issue, Peter overheard a phone call where Aunt May is talking to a doctor, and they said that she had 6 months to live because of a heart disease. So Peter overheard this, and now they're all freaking out about it. And then after a quick 2-second conversation, find out that that's not actually what's going on. It's Nathan that's dying. Thank God, not Aunt May. Don't care anymore. And Peter even
let's see
says
some
this.
Ass. Now that we know Aunt May's fine.
Yeah. Now that we know that Aunt May's not dying, we can have Mary Jane be almost naked at a panel. We go right from Aunt May talking about how her almost fiance, because they have been talking about getting re-engaged, has 6 months to live and is dying. And Peter just is like, thank God for that. Anyway, time for some fun. So Mary Jane is very sexily telling him about a job that she might have. She has an audition for a soap opera because she can't get any modeling work, so she's going to start acting because that's the same thing.
Right.
I can model. I can definitely act. And then she reminds Peter, she's like, don't forget, we have to help Harry Osborn move back to New York City or Manhattan or wherever they are. So the next day they're all helping Liz and Harry move to this new apartment building, and Peter is pretending to be tired, but he isn't tired because he's Spider-Man, just in case you forgot. And then Harry's like, you know what, though? I have a great idea. The apartment above us, totally empty, but I own this whole building. Hey, best friend who's been looking for an apartment for 6 months. You want to, like, rent it out for super cheap from me, your other best friend? And Peter's like, I don't know. I don't think I could Spider-Man from here, but then finds a skylight and decides that, you know what? Yes. Because Aunt May is kicking them out because her boyfriend's dying, so she wants some,
privacy.
Get privacy, I suppose. So she's kicking them out. And luckily, it always works out for Peter somehow.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, Aunt May, she says, I want you children to know you always have a home here, but I'd also like to make Nathan's last days as peaceful as possible, so I'm considering phasing out my boarding operations. I hope you understand. So she's not explicitly telling him that he needs to move out, but she's, like, implying that he needs to move out because Nathan's dying, even though they have nowhere to go at this point. Like, they've been looking for an apartment. This is very temporary. It's not like they've been just sitting here doing nothing. They're definitely looking for apartments, but whatever. So, turns out they have an apartment, so it all works out. Peter steps out for a minute, and a minute turns into a lot longer than I would be comfortable leaving, but he calls Silver Sable on the phone, and she's like, I got a tip or whatever, like, let's go. So, they hop in a jet, as you do, and they go to, I don't know where they are, but it's some forested area.
Yeah, I don't know where they are either.
New Jersey.
New Jersey. Yeah, it's in New Jersey, and it's like in this forested area where this facility is.
Yeah, you know,
like outside of town.
Yeah, just the big woods in Jersey.
They do actually. New Jersey State it does have a lot of woods. Actually, I know because there was an episode of X-Files about it. But anyway,
that's why you know.
Yeah,
you didn't have to add that last part.
I know. I could have sounded smart, but I'll be honest. Instead.
So yeah, they get the tip. They go to this facility where the Life Foundation's hiding their goons or whatever. They easily dispatch the one guard outside and break in, and it's like this weird town mall thing. It's got like houses and stuff, and I feel like I've missed so much, but I swear I've read every issue of this.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden these giant like mole men, like huge jacked goopy mutant monster men, come out, and Carlton Drake's there with the Nazi guy, and they're like, we made this town for these mutants, and now they work for us and attack. And so these giant weird guys attack Silver Sable, Spider-Man, and Paladin. And like they can like turn their fists into like maces and stuff, and I don't know what's going on. They fight. Silver Sable sneaks around and manages to break into where Drake and the Nazi guy whose name is irrelevant is. And she shoots Carlton Drake, and he's like, I can't believe she shot me. Me, the guy who's trying to kill her, or whatever. So then she drugs both of them. Peter finally finishes fighting the guys with the help of... Oh, also there's weather. There's a weather machine. Forgot that. I just looked down and I was like, right, it's snowing. This like town that they've made has fake weather. So Peter has made it snow, and then they beat up the last of the big dudes, and then they walk in, and Peter is pissed that Silver Sable would dare drug this Nazi. And then they fly back to the embassy, or no, they fly back to wherever they were, Manhattan, and Silver Sable tells them about how this is like a ploy to hire an assassin to kill the king of her country.
Yeah. Simcaria.
Yes, Simcaria. So, she asks Spider-Man and Paladin if they would like to help her defend her king and queen and future queen, I guess. And Paladin's busy. He has a date, so he can't go. He says a date with a blonde. Who knows who that is? Irrelevant. And then Spider-Man's like, I got morals and stuff. I can't help you do that. You just tranquilize that Nazi, and I, for some reason, don't think that's cool. And then she's like, what about for $1,000? And he's like, all right, I'll do it.
I'm in.
And then that's that issue. This was the hardest one to follow out of all of them.
Yeah, I mean, I've read this several times since I was a kid, and this whole story, I kind of don't know what's exactly going on.
I mean, Paladin doesn't even belong in this story. Like, he does nothing this issue. You know what I mean? He's only here because he was in the previous one. They could have written him out at the beginning after the first encounter, and Spider-Man just teamed up with Silver Sable again.
Right.
Like, there's no point in him being here at all.
Yeah, because then Spider-Man could find the information that shows them where the secret base is, and it's not like Paladin does any... He's just a guy, right? Like... Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this one. And then...
Go ahead.
What do you feel, Mike? How you feeling?
No, I'm just thinking, like, why did... Like, I know why they made this 6 issues. It's because it went bi-weekly for 6 issues, so they wanted to fill it up. But it did not need to be 6 issues. I'm sure we agree on that, right?
Yeah. No,
I forgot it was until this moment.
Yeah. Yep. What were you going to say, Becca?
Nothing. I have nothing to say. I don't know what's... What are the big goop men?
It's
They came out of nowhere.
Weird.
I don't know.
Yeah, this whole thing is so strange. Like, all of this, everything that happens here, we don't get any information about the plot until the end, where Silver Sable explains that off camera, off screen, she got all the information that we needed. So we're good.
Right.
So that's what's gonna... So just letting you know, Spider-Man, this is what's going to happen in the next issue. I got everything I needed while you were off doing something else. That's it. Like, nothing else changes in terms of Spider-Man. Like, stuff does happen with Peter, and I think that's the best stuff in the issue. Not that it's great, but like the apartment hunting and... helping Harry, and then getting the new place above Harry and Liz's new apartment is like fun. I love, even though it's absolutely ridiculous, that Peter and MJ are talking about, like, how are we gonna bring this up? I'm so worried about Aunt May. And Aunt May walks in and Peter just shouts, Aunt May, we know!
Yeah.
We know, Aunt May! I heard! Like, it doesn't even pretend to hide it, doesn't bring it up, like, nicely, or, he's not sensitive about it at all. He just shouts it out. And then afterwards, he's like, oh, thank fucking God it was Nathan. Who cares about him?
Yeah.
Oh, man. But, yeah, this is a stinky one. The art is pretty fun in this one.
It's definitely inconsistent, but yeah, like there's probably
better
some good
than the
panels
next issue we're going to be talking about.
We'll talk about that for sure, but well, okay, let's go ahead.
Can I just real quick, there's something I wanted to talk about that I kind of appreciate in this. So if we go to the beginning of the issue, art-wise, I just want to talk about the paneling and how the actual panels themselves and the lines in the panels, the lines of the panels. Hold on one sec.
Okay. Don't worry, listeners.
Sorry.
This is all part of the podcast.
Sorry, my dog is barking.
Just a disciplinary father time. Hold on.
The panels, the lines of the panels themselves help to like show what we are supposed to be feeling about what's happening in the panels. So we start off, it's kind of like a normal panel. This is right after the big splash page. it's a kind of a normal panel. We're far away. And then when the guy crashes through the building, the panel's like exploding. And we get no panels while it's just kind of like chit chat between them. And then the thick lines of the next panel is like super thick border as we see the spider senses go off. And then it kind of goes back to normal. And then again, we're seeing Spidey like react. And then on the next page to this crowd of people. And then we see the thick lines again as we see Paladin and the impact of him lifting up the truck. And then we have a second to like breathe with almost no lines for the next panel where he's just kind of talking with Spidey. Right. And then we see how, again, thin lines, as all Spider-Man does is flick just to show how like easy it is for him to do this. As we cut to the next panel and it's, again, super, super thick lines around the panel as the whole train car collapses and explodes on the ground. And, like, it's small, but if we go back to the previous issue on original page 8.
The previous issue?
The previous issue. So that's Web of...
Oh, Web what? Sorry, I thought you meant Amazing. Okay.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Web of 55.
Okay.
Original page 8. I don't know why some of the panels are thick, bordered, and colored red.
Okay, wait. Digital page 8?
Original page 8.
Okay, original page 8.
Like, it's when Kingpin comes back and it's the arranger, and, like, it's not telling us anything's happening.
I
mean... It's just like every other one is not thick red lines and then... thick red lines. It's like
two things.
Doesn't adding anything, right?
He's either imitating McFarlane and not understanding what he's doing, or he's imitating Alan Moore and not knowing what he's doing. Because Alan Moore would do subtle touches like that, but they always had a purpose, right?
Right.
So as much as I love Alex Saviuk, he's a very classic, like Bronze Age style artist, and I think he just works best when he just does that. You know, like And again, I'm not saying Todd McFarlane's a genius, but he was ahead of the curve and he was doing things no one else was doing. And it's very hard to imitate that if that's not your style.
Yeah. It's just like, I think it just goes to show how close he pays attention to what's happening in the script.
Right.
So that way he can clearly convey what's happening and then subliminally give us like an emotion.
Yep.
Of like, of things that are happening inside of those panels just by the thickness of the lines or like breaking the boxes themselves or whatever. I just think it's really clever and I can always follow what's happening in Todd McFarlane's issues more than anybody else's. Even when the art itself is messy, there's just something about it, whether it be the boxes or the panel layout or whatever it is, that I'm able to still kind of understand what's happening, even when the illustrations themselves are off.
Well, I think it's also intuitive. Like he's also not just like a standard illustrator comic book artist. He has a natural flair for design, right? So he's naturally going to add in those extra elements that other artists are not going to think of. I don't think. But Becca, what do you think?
Oh, those panels that Josh pointed out, where he flicks the truck and it flips over, are like some of my favorite, like just slapstick comedy that's been in an issue in a long time. I like laughed out loud. I was like, that's because like it feels like a cartoon. It feels like he's going like boink,
right,
and then it just goes
right.
I got the vibe. I thought it was really funny, and I love this little tiny Spider-Man sassily one hand on the hip,
no big
this
deal.
Little like flipped a truck. I love that.
It also just makes Paladin seem like so much goofier. Like, why is he even here?
Right.
You know what I mean? And then, I don't know.
But then we get some art where it's like you go to when Peter and Mary Jane are helping Harry and Liz move, and there's like one panel that's Harry and Liz and their baby. And it makes me want to run screaming. It's the most horrifying thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Wait, I'm flipping back to that. Yeah. Pretty rough. Yeah.
Like, Harry Osborn's eyebrows are so high up on his head.
Uh-huh.
And Liz's face, like, she looks like an anime cat girl. Like, I don't...
Mm-hmm.
It's just not... It's...
Mm-hmm.
it's not it, fam. Like, some of the stuff is so good, and some of it is...
Totally agree.
It's not good, and I can't defend it at all. And then you have, like, cool things, like, on the next page where, like, Peter's on the phone, and to show the split screen of Peter on the phone with Silver Sable, there's just a big spider in the middle, and that's sick.
That's pretty cool, but it probably took him 4 seconds to draw. But I know what you mean. It's okay. But if you skip ahead 2 more pages, there's a great shot of Spidey swinging over the forest. Like, that's a good shot. Right?
Of Spider-Man, sure.
Yeah, not anything else.
No.
Yeah, you're right.
Because, like, Silver Sable looks like an ape.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, her body proportions and her pose are just so strange. It also looks like she's gigantic up against those trees, unless those are tiny trees.
Yeah, good point.
You know what I mean?
It's a whole bunch of tiny trees. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so it's just
sloppy.
Like... Yeah. Even when the art itself is sloppy, though, I just appreciate the storytelling in them. Right. There's definitely a lot to talk about where the art is just messed up in these next 2 issues.
I hate these giant men, and I hate the way that they look.
They're gross. You're right. There's something. They're just like big balls of flesh. Yeah.
I guess that's maybe the point, but it's awful to look at.
You could have designed them any other way, but yeah, you're right. It's a weird choice to make them look like that, eh?
And then you go to like the wiki, and it says the Protectors' first and only appearance.
Exactly.
Really? They never show up again?
They've never, and not even like any issue in the rest of this arc. Like, that's it.
There's nothing to them, right? So
wow. What's the point of them? Like, Carlton Drake is like, we made these super soldier, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, he just said Spider-Man destroyed our building once, so we've got protectors in place in case that ever happens again. It's also like, how do they even know Spider-Man's showing up again? Right?
Yeah, this is a trap specifically for Silver Sable.
But he also talks about, like, they made those monsters because of Spider-Man, right? Does he not?
I don't remember. Where is that?
I don't know.
Let me see. So he says...
Your previous interference cost us customers, so we're now targeting an untapped market. Yuppies! That's why we designed these new accommodations. To induce young moderns to spend considerable sums to remain safe and comfortable, while human rot finally causes society to collapse. Bro, what are you talking about? Naturally, such an investment must include defense from the have-nots who didn't prepare. Hence these protector prototypes. We paid mercenaries to undergo surgery that would make them incredibly strong. But seeing the danger of having our own defenders turn against us, we chose not to mention that the operation would also make them totally subservient. Now they cheerfully follow orders. For example, kill. What? Why is it? Why?
Earlier on, though, when they're in the boardroom, one of the board members says something like, "It was, after all, Spider-Man who helped to destroy the survival condos we were marketing some time ago." And then he comes in and he's like, we're not putting this on hold. We can manipulate current circumstances for working for us. Our research department has come up with some new methods for defense against hostile factions. So, like, these goopy monsters were made because of Spider-Man and to fight people like him.
Wasn't it chance that fucked them over? And Spider-Man just was there?
I don't know.
You
know what? Why don't we talk about the next issue and maybe all of our questions will be answered. Wait,
maybe
all of our answers will be... No?
No.
Answers will be questioned? No?
Maybe the answer will show up in the next issue. You're right.
There you go. Okay, so let's just jump right to the next one, okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
Bex Luthor. Can you tell us what happens?
I don't know if I can. I'll try my best, though.
Well, we can jump in and help when you need.
Thank God for my friends. Making me read this in the first place.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, because now there's 2 issues of Amazing every month, which obviously means that they're twice as good.
Right.
Or half as good, depending how you look at it.
Or neither of them are even close to good. Right. So Peter has taken up the offer to $1,000 to go to this not real Eastern European country to protect a king. So they show up in what's it called? Simcaria?
Simcaria, yeah.
Sure. And they immediately are attacked by hostiles. As you do. And Silver's like, oh no, they're playing off of tips that they get of people who might be attempting to assassinate the king. But it turns out that all of these tips are just common thieves that are trying to steal like money and stuff and not actually anybody plotting to kill the king.
Mm-hmm.
So they pack up for the day, and Peter and Silver Sable have a nice lovely talk in her limousine where she's like, you don't know anything about me. Mm-hmm. And he's like, all right. Guess not. And they have a really awkward conversation. And then they go to the castle, as you do, and then she shows him how her people love the king, and the king is fiance, and how they need to have a child to continue the bloodline because the bloodline is incredibly important to the people and a symbol, blah, 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 blah. And then the prime minister shows up, and he's like, hey, got another lead for you on who might be killing the king. And Silver Sable's like, your leads are absolute trash. I don't care. And is not suspicious at all about this guy, who immediately is suspicious. So Peter goes to do some sightseeing, I suppose, and Silver Sable gives him a little badge so that he can get through security. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister, who wasn't suspicious at all, is talking to the most suspicious guy you could ever see. And he's in, like, a ski mask. And they're...
Also a beret.
And he's also a beret and a ski mask. He's an ultimatum soldier, and they are plotting to kill the king so that the Prime Minister can take full power over the country's government and have full democracy. Because nothing says democracy quite like slaughtering the guy in charge. So they hope to kill the king, and then with no successors, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, cheers, martini glasses up, let's go. So Peter swings out of the castle and into the city so that he can call Mary Jane, because he has just left the country and hasn't talked to her at all since, at least that we know of. But it's Aunt May who picks up, and he's like, oh, tell Mary Jane I love her, or whatever. We cut over to Mary Jane very quickly, as she is auditioning for that soap opera, but because she's a nobody and she is in a room full of other nobodies, she's trying to make herself stand out, so she just screams at the casting director, in character, in hopes that gets her the part. And, like, the casting director is even like, what's this unknown doing? As if she doesn't know who Mary Jane freaking Watson is. She's, like, the most popular supermodel in the world.
Well,
I would think that...
We can suspend disbelief for the sake of the scene, but yeah, I know what you mean. Go ahead.
I guess, but, like, just because she's not an actress doesn't mean she's not famous.
Yeah.
But whatever. So back to Silver Sable's country.
Okay.
That I will never, ever be able to pronounce.
Simcaria?
Yeah.
Back to symmetry.
I think.
Symmetry.
The King's Jubilee is going on. And Peter is in a full tuxedo on top of his Spider-Man costume, and it's a great look. And he's like, hey, Silver, do you ever, like, calm down and relax? And she's like, no, someone's trying to assassinate my king. I'm literally, my job is to protect him, so no. Meanwhile, while they're having this conversation on a rooftop, someone talks in her walkie-talkie, and stuff's happening. So, the next day, nothing's actually happening. It's the next day that stuff happens. Everyone's on their guard. The planes fly overhead of the King's Jubilee, and then soldiers deploy themselves from the plane and start shooting everybody. Just very unsneakily. So Spider-Man and Silver Sable grab the king and the queen, and they bring them inside, and there are a lot of these ultimatum soldiers coming after them. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister is like, what a perfect distraction. I'm gonna kill the king myself with this gun. And he gets eaten by a werewolf. or something. We don't know what it is yet.
Well,
some sort of.
Yeah.
We don't. Why? Like, in plot wise, do you know what this is?
No, we do. Well, I do, but we don't.
Yeah,
You're right.
But like, as far as like in the story, like, it's just a shadow creature.
Right.
Eats the prime minister. And then one of the soldiers goes to shoot the king, and the future queen jumps in front to save him, so the bloodline can continue because she's not the royal one, he is. And Silver Sable gets pissed, and Spider-Man gets pissed, and they punch all the soldiers, and it's over. And then they find the dead prime minister, and they're like, wow, he must have been the real victim all along. Because everyone's an idiot, apparently. What happens after that? Oh yeah, and then they find out that they find a capsule, which is it's a suicide capsule that only the CIA agents use. And then next issue, Captain America.
Yep.
Okay.
This one was worse.
So, before we even get to the plot, well, okay, fine, let's get to the plot. Again, it's a mess, right?
What plot?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I don't. Yeah.
It's so. They sit down. They sit you down and they explain to you the political state of this country and how everything is messed up at the beginning, and that the reason why they're there is to protect the king and queen during this ceremony and during this event. Nothing important happens leading up to the event. The event happens and a bunch of people show up to stop it, and they don't really succeed in what they're there to do. Like, these people attack anyways, and then it ends, and we're kind of given a new scenario to deal with the next issue. You know what I mean? Like, nothing that they do really changes the outcomes a whole lot of this story, besides, I guess, getting the king and queen to safety. But that's like a literal panel that happens where we see that like weird splash page after the dinner party. It's not a splash page, but that weird page of like, you know, right after they're done talking at night, it cuts to the next day, and it's the two of them are standing watch, and then the attack happens like without fail. You don't even really know who is attacking, really. Like, it's just like this big attack. These guys in orange and purple suits and the ski mask and beret suits are there, and it's just kind of like army dudes fighting each other. Like, I don't know. It's for all of the dialogue and like stuff that they like, information that they dump on us, nothing happens.
Right. Well, I also want to point out that despite what the credits say, and despite what MarvelFandom.com says, much of the inking in this issue is not by Todd McFarlane. Okay, so I go to digital page 4, which is, it starts off with a bunch of guys being thrown in the air and then piling up, and Silver Sable like ripping some paper. You see that?
Oh yeah, her face looks so much better.
Well, yeah, that's not Todd McFarlane. Like, I don't care. Like, people on the internet would be like, it's Todd McFarlane. It's not. That's not Todd McFarlane. It's completely different style. And if you flip through the issue, like the next page, okay, that's McFarlane. You go through. But the next, like the page of Silver Sable giving him a credit card and Spidey swinging away, that's 100% McFarlane, like classic McFarlane, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then if you keep going, there's another page that really jumps out. Keep going. Oh, okay. So once there's the page of the jets flying over the castle. The page after that, when the guards are coming down and they're like invading the castle, that inking, that's not Todd McFarlane. It's not. It looks like complete crap, to be honest. Next page, not Todd McFarlane. Keep jumping ahead. Okay, here we go, folks. Digital page 21. It starts off with a page with a shot of Spider-Man doing a punch, and it says thramp. Then Spider-Man's like beating up a bunch of guards, and then there's a cool shot at the bottom where there's smoke coming up out of the ground, and Spider-Man's sitting there. That's a great shot. Okay, the one above it's a great shot. That top panel of Spider-Man punching that guard where it says "Thram," that is complete worthless shit. Okay, and actually maybe Todd McFarlane did ink that panel, but I actually posted on Back Issue Magazine, like the Facebook page, and I put like a little quote like, I'll just come back and finish this panel later. Doesn't come back. Like, clearly he just didn't finish the panel. And the colorist was like, well, I guess I'll just put the blue here, put the red here. Like, that looks like complete shit. I
mean, even the stuff that is finished in this one almost rarely looks good.
Right.
Spider-Man's face in this is so awful.
Yep.
Like, that page that you were talking about with the two of them and then the jets.
Yep.
It looks like Spider-Man or Peter Parker put his Spidey mask over a bicycle seat.
Yeah.
It's not
exactly.
a face. Like, it's like this
Yep.
weird, like, long alien horse face.
Yep,
and
exactly.
Then,
100%.
And then I this maybe isn't necessarily a Todd McFarlane thing, but I hate when we can see Peter's nose and lips in the mask.
It's a little weird, but
I hate it.
Okay, but where's an example?
Like 2 pages above that. He's like fixing his bow tie and Silver Sable's going out to the balcony.
Okay, wait.
I hate it. I hate it so much because it also like
that's not how fabric be working,
that's not how
guy.
fabric works.
Right.
It also too, like, let's say that is how this fabric works, whatever. That means that his eyes are like all the way to the side of his face.
Yeah, good point.
You know what I mean? Like,
good
I
point.
can buy that like just the panel next to it. I can buy that his eyes are there and his nose is somewhere in the middle and the mouth is there because there's no definition, right? I can kind of like trick my mind into thinking that Spider-Man's mask makes any sense.
Yeah.
But then when you go to this one and you can see everything except for his eyes, and then his Spider-Man mask eyes are drawn like way to the side to make it fit. It's like either his eyes are not where the Spider-Man mask eyes are, or they're like way out.
Where he's got lizard eyes.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah,
dead fish eyes
I
or
didn't notice
something.
that while reading it, but now that you've pointed out, that is grotesque, and it's even grosser than those big goop monster men from the previous issue.
Yeah, it's not great.
In order to have that much definition on a face mask, you'd have to like put like prosthetic glue all over your face and then stick the fabric to your lips and stuff.
Yep.
Because it's just he just drew the face and then colored the mask on top, which happens a lot in comics where like they just color on top of the naked people with the suits, mostly women, but it's really bad. The art in this is bad, Todd.
It's rough.
And others.
Yeah, he's clearly getting worn out. And for the record, next issue is a fill-in artist. I won't say who. And 328 is his last issue, and amazing for a good reason, because he is getting burned out. And he couldn't do the schedule, but they forced it on him, right? So he kind of quit with good reason, I think. So anyway.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's just like, if the art's going to suffer this much, why are we doing 2 issues a month?
Exactly. Well, that's Marvel. That's one of the complaints about post Jim Shooter. I mean, Jim Shooter, peace be with him. But anyway, he did do one good thing when he was editor-in-chief is he kept the quality of the books high. And after he left, Tom DeFalco became editor-in-chief. Marvel had new owners. And one of the things that people complained about was they didn't care about the quality of the books. Marvel just wanted to pump out as much, product as possible. And it just went, it's like it grew exponentially until you get to the point where I think in 1 month they fired half the staff and then demanded twice as many books, and then that led to their bankruptcy and on and on and on from there. And you can see the evidence of that in this book. So And the story sucks. But anyway,
yeah, it definitely doesn't help that the story is really shitty.
Right.
This is one of the first times I think that I just got lost as to what was even happening in the story. I think the scenes and the panels were making sense at times, but like there's no transition between from scene to scene. Like when we jump from the party to the next day, it's so jarring because we in the same page with 4 panels in it. We are introduced that it's the next day at the castle. Spidey and Silver Sable are watching the royal family as the ceremony's happening, and also these jets are coming in and are about to send dudes flying down to destroy this place. Like it happens so quickly after like a chill conversation that they're having on a balcony. It's really rough. And I think like if we had like time to like chill in this scene for a little bit, be like, everything's going fine, look at here's the ceremony, blah 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 blah, and then all of a sudden the jets show up out of nowhere and it's like jarring in that sense, it would feel like a surprise that happened to us. But right from the start, it's like boom 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 boom, like nonstop. Everything is thrown at us. Even those calm moments where they're just sitting there doing nothing. It's like, we have to read what's going on to even understand really what any of this is or why it's happening.
So yeah.
It's a bummer.
What can I say? I also want to quickly point out that after Todd McFarlane left, Eric Larson took over, and it definitely took a dip in quality. And then Mark Bagley took over, and I stopped reading Spider-Man for like 8 years. So it tells you how much I enjoyed that. But it's almost like, I think around this time, like clearly David Michelinie can write, but at this point, Marvel just became a machine, you know? Like just churn it out. And sales were going up. Like sales were exploding. So like, what do they care, right? If everyone's going to buy what they're doing, they don't give a shit if it's good. I mean, whether or not it's good, then why make it good, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Any other thoughts, Becca?
Zero thoughts, head empty. I don't... Yeah, it sucked, dude. It sucked. This one sucked.
Yeah.
And like, there's no interesting panel work to talk about. There's no redemption.
No. Honestly.
There's no little bits and pieces. Like, Todd spent 3.5 weeks on the previous issue and then a half a week on this one.
Yep.
And it's like, I don't blame him. Like, what do they give him to work with? They're like, you're going to draw a bunch of like just guys and running around and stuff. And that's not why we like Todd McFarlane. Like, I don't know why this is the 6-issue run in Amazing. Like, it's just Silver Sable and Spider-Man in like some sort of conspiracy, like political conspiracy. That's not what I'm reading Todd McFarlane. I want to see the Lizard. I want to see like stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think this is the wrong choice. They should have put this in a like Web of, or put this in Spectacular or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you do it, you write it well. Like give us a reason to be out of our to be out of our element, right? I think we've probably talked about this plenty of times, but I know like Mike hates this too, but when you take Spidey out of New York, it always like crumbles and falls apart. You know what I mean? It just doesn't feel right. So if you're going to do it, make sure that there's like a really good reason to bring him out. Make sure that the story is solid. Make sure it's part of the story that he's out of his element and make it like a thing instead of just like, oh, he's in Vermont now or wherever you're going to bring him into this a whole nother country. And yeah, we're not really getting much of a story here. It's stinky. Don't like it.
Yeah. There's one page of Mary Jane trying to become an actor, and that's literally the only interesting part. To me, at least. I was like, when I was like, oh, cool, now we're at Mary Jane, like something that I actually give a shit about. And then just one page of her auditioning, and that's it. I was like, I wanna... Yeah. What happened? Did she get the job? Like, I don't care about...
Right, anything else. Yeah.
And what sucks so much is Spider-Man being in a full tuxedo in Todd McFarlane style should be dope, and it's not.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Okay, so we don't really recommend it then.
No, neither of them.
No,
Okay.
they're just not interesting enough.
Okay.
Too stinky.
Okay.
Or interesting at all.
So yeah,
Let's move on.
now.
Look, you know it's bad when the next one's about Robbie, and I think it's way better than this one.
With that, yes, we are going to talk about Spectacular Spider-Man 155, featuring Spider-Man betrayed by Joe Robertson. And on the cover, we see the triumph of Tombstone and Spider-Man getting punched in the face by Tombstone. I think it's a good cover, by the way. I think it's really good. You really feel the
It's a
impact.
great cover.
Yeah.
Because it happens. It's a comic.
Good
Right.
point. Yes. So we should also point out, maybe people are feeling the pinch of deadlines because this is the first issue of Spectacular that Sal Buscema has drawn that he's not inked. This is inked by Mike Esposito, who we know from previous issues of Spider-Man that Josh and I reviewed. Definitely Mike Esposito. But anyway.
Yeah, early on.
Early
Right.
on, definitely. Yeah. So in this issue, Spider-Man is recapping for the audience everything that's happened in the past few issues of Web of Spider-Man. Actually, just the past issue to get everyone up to speed. And he's breaking into the prison that Joe Robertson is locked up in. We should also point out that chronologically, we reviewed these out of order. Amazing, because there's 2 issues of Amazing. So one happened before this, one happened after. So this issue happens before they actually find out that it's just Nathan Lubinsky that's dying. They think it's Aunt May still, okay?
Right.
But anyway, yeah. So Spider-Man, this is actually, I like this sequence. Spider-Man, he's like outside of Joe Roberts' cell and he's like talking to him and he's like, Robbie, what's going on? Why'd you call me here? All of a sudden, Spider-Man gets sabotaged by Tombstone. Tombstone punches him in the face. Joe Robertson shoots him injects him with like a thing. Now here's the thing. If Joe Robertson would have injected Spider-Man and Spider-Man would have said nothing, all of us would have gone along with it. But instead, Spider-Man has to say, Robbie, what did you do? My arm's burning. Like the time Chameleon tricked me, disguised as Jonah, injected me. Robbie, why? Oh. And I try to tell my friends this is literature. They don't believe me. Anyway, okay. So we go. So
you could erase all of that and just keep Robbie Y.
Exactly. You know? And we would have all gone along with it, right? Anyway. So now Tombstone's holding up Spidey in the air. Spider-Man's now we realize, oh my god, Joe Robinson has betrayed Spider-Man. Why? Like Tombstone holds him up and gives him a Sal Buscema whack. Spider-Man goes flying. All the other inmates are like, yeah, get him, whatever. So then we cut back over to Mary Jane, who currently believes Aunt May has 6 months to live, right? And they're like walking along, chatting it up, and they go to the Senior Citizens for Service meeting tonight, and they're just hanging out, right? And then Mary Jane's like, oh my god, 6 months to live, and she's talking about volunteer work. Sure puts my problems in perspective, doesn't it? And it's like, yeah, remember how like 2 weeks ago she was like, fuck Christy, I care about my problems. You know what I mean? Anyway, yeah, good old Mary Jane. So then we cut over to Harry Osborn and Flash Gordon. Oh wait, sorry, Flash Thompson.
Yeah.
I'm mixing up comic books.
Sick.
And Harry Osborn, just in the previous issue of Amazing, offered Peter Parker and Mary Jane to stay at his apartment. Now he's offering Flash Thompson to get a job at his factory, right? So that's kind of cool. In the background, we see a shadowy figure lurking about. We don't know who it is. Well, it turns out it's Black Cat, right? Who we haven't seen in a long time. Well, we saw her once in Amazing, right?
Yeah, she's showing up every once in a while or whatever.
Sporadically, okay.
Um,
So
Then she finds out Peter's married, and she's like, eh.
I'm more concerned about everything else that's happening in this one. I know that you said that he's there trying to get a job at like Oscorp or whatever, but
Yeah.
the whole time Flash is just complaining about Peter. This
Yeah,
whole
it's a little
page,
weird.
it's
It's a
like,
little
what?
weird.
Isn't that so weird? Was Flash not Peter's best man?
Well, well, let's be clear. Peter Parker only had 2 people in his wedding party. Flash Thompson and Harry Osborn. So one of them was obviously the best man, and the other one was the maid of honor.
It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Why is he like, man, that Parker, he's such a dweeb. I hate him. Why did he end up with MJ? It's like, what? Where is this coming from? I'm so confused.
I think he's just being jealous, but like not in like a hateful way towards Peter, like a man, my life sucks kind of way.
Right.
Because I guess he's not dating Betty anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So then we cut back to the jail, and Spidey is chained up, and Tombstone is like, talking smack. And then he actually does give him a literal smack. He cracks him in the face. And he's intimidated. And there's also like a guard in on it. And like Joe Robertson basically is like just standing there doing nothing. So then Tombstone starts punching Spider-Man in the face. Whack, smack, brack. And then Joe Robertson, it's like, oh no. He's like, I can't take this anymore. So they leave the guard out, and they're like, oh, what are they gonna do next, right? You think maybe they're gonna kill Spidey. But then Joe Robertson's like, or Spider-Man's like, why did you do it? Why did you betray me? And Joe Robertson's like, for the same reason. And, I've always been, I'm afraid. I've always been afraid. I'm terrified, blah, blah, blah. And then you see that there's like a secret plan where they actually have helicopters flying in to help them break out of jail. So they break out of jail and they're running out. And this is a stupid plan. They're using Spider-Man as like, what's it called? A
hostage.
A hostage, yeah. It's so stupid. Like, why Spider-Man?
Which, also, you don't know that these guards like Spider-Man.
Exactly. It doesn't work. So then all of a sudden, despite the fact that Spider-Man's chained up, he breaks out of the chains. So then they all accuse him of faking him being affected by this virus. So he like does a Sal Buscema like thing where he hits them, they all go flying. And then Tombstone and Robbie get into the helicopter, which was meant for like a whole bunch of other people, but they actually don't make it to the helicopter. So now it's just the pilot, Tombstone, Robbie, and then Spider-Man jumps on and grabs onto the door. And so Tombstone's trying to like kick him off and like knock off the helicopter, but then Joe Robertson gets up the courage and he comes up behind Tombstone and he grabs him and puts him in a headlock. And then, oh no, look at this. The last appearance of Joe Robertson and Tombstone. They fall off the helicopter. And this is actually a really well done sequence. The next page, we see Spider-Man reaching his hand out. We see Robbie and Tombstone falling. And Spider-Man's hand, there's like 4 panels in a row. And it's like you see him like reaching and then giving up hope. And then in the last panel, it's just completely limp. It's really good. And then he just watches. And then we see the sound effect. We see click, click. And we're like, oh no, is that the sound of them falling? But no, it turns out it's the pilot. Oh no, sorry, it's another guy on the helicopter loading a gun to shoot Spidey. But he swings around, kicks him. I guess he knocks him out. And then he orders the pilot to, where does he tell him to go?
Just land, right?
Yeah, to basically to land so he can go look for Robbie and Tombstone. Yeah. And then it says, next issue, the search for Robbie Robertson. And that's the end. So, hey, I thought this, again, very straightforward, very simple, and I could actually follow the story and I actually knew what was going on. You think it'd be something every comic book could do, but apparently not. But I really enjoyed this issue. Bex Luthor, what'd you think of it?
I liked it because it shows what a big fucking wuss Joe Robertson is. Peter's getting punched and he's crying like a little baby. Like, grow up! Like, I was scared, and me. And now I'm putting everybody else's life at risk because I'm scared. Me. Like, dude, just take the L. Get beat up in prison. Like, don't bring Spider-Man into this. How dare you?
Right.
What a dick. What a coward. But I did like it.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
I like the art a lot. I think it was really, I don't know, there's just something about it made me, it was just really easy to follow. I really enjoyed the reading of this one, more maybe because I read this one after the last two.
Well, did you?
So I was like, thank God. I know what the hell's going on.
Well, yeah, Sal Buscema is a classic storyteller, but did you think his art was improved by Mike Esposito's inks?
I didn't really notice a difference.
Okay.
I'll be real honest.
Okay.
I would have never noticed if you hadn't told me.
Okay.
I did like the art a lot. So maybe I did notice subconsciously because I'm normally like, yeah, art was fine.
Right.
But I did really like it a lot. Like the panel where he's chained up on the wall, 10 out of 10. Like that a lot.
Yeah, it's really good.
For no particular reason.
Mm-hmm.
I like Tombstone. I like what a piece of shit he is.
Mm-hmm.
I like that they just ditched all the dudes. Like all the guys they were supposed to break out of jail with.
Yeah.
That's fun. The plan to break out of jail, maybe not. I mean, it worked, but kind of dumb. But beside that, I think it was fine. I mean, it wasn't like crazy or like spectacular or anything, but at least kept the story moving, and it wasn't like there wasn't too much invasiveness going on. Like we find out like Peter's thinking about Aunt May, and then we see what Aunt May's doing. So like that's cool. And there's not like 1,000,001 like the Persuader doesn't show up in 2 panels, and they talk about him for 2 panels, like sometimes happens in Spectacular. So yeah.
So basically, we can follow it. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say if Robbie dies in this one, I'll be happy, but I don't think he's dead.
He's alive in this week's issue of Amazing Spider-Man. But anyway,
okay.
Yeah, I guess we're having to settle for we can follow the story, we can follow the art, and we're not completely confused. But by that standard, this was a good one. Josh, what'd you think?
That's sad.
Yeah, it's a pretty fun one. I kind of agree with Becca about Robbie in this one. It's kind of annoying. Like it is kind of annoying that he's like just giving up and like letting Tombstone do this to Spider-Man. Like Robbie's character really is like he wouldn't like just do that. You know what I mean? He wouldn't just give over his phone to lure Spider-Man in and inject him himself. Like it just doesn't make any sense. It feels out of character. If Tombstone gave him a reason to do that, like he had lackeys outside of his house or something, or like he somehow got a picture of like Tombstone got a picture of his wife and kid at the dinner table or something through the window, so he like gives it to him and he uses that as like, listen, if you don't do this, if you don't get Spider-Man in here, your family's gonna get hurt and there's nothing you can do about it because you're in prison. Whatever. It just feels so out of character for him to just go along with Tombstone. If it was just about Robbie, I can see it, you know what I mean? Like him giving up, but he wouldn't do that to his friends. That was the only thing I think in this issue that really didn't sit right with me story-wise. But I think once I got past that, and that was at the beginning, I did really enjoy this issue. The art is really fun. There's some panels in particular, like you were saying, that the them falling out of the airplane and Spidey's hand going limp is like definitely something that I really, really loved. You can even see that the plane is the helicopter is still moving because like the background is like changing and getting further, but Spidey is staying the same in every single one. It's really fun. When Tombstone grabs Spidey at the beginning and like there's that great panel of like him holding him up by the scruff of his shirt.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And then later on when he's chained up, and he's just getting the shit beat out of him, and he's got like a bloody nose, and the blood is like dripping out of the mask. So fun.
I didn't even notice that. Oh, that's good.
I don't think we've ever seen that before.
Good point. I didn't even notice that. Wow, yeah.
It's so fun. It's like such a great touch. Yeah, there's some really fun stuff in this one.
So basically, this was probably the best one of the month.
Yeah, I think
Surprise?
so. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's almost no contest, right?
Yeah.
And it's not even that good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not fantastic, but I enjoyed reading it. It was really easy to read as well, very straightforward. There wasn't like extra stuff in here that didn't need to be in it, besides maybe the black cat interlude.
Right.
Everything felt like it belonged and flowed nicely. Yeah, it was a good one.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, when it comes to comic books, can you at the very least, like I said earlier, make the story coherent, make everything that happens relevant to the plot, make the story, like make the art clear so we can follow what's going along. Like if you start with that baseline, then you can build from there. But when you have amazing and even web a little bit, when you can barely even follow what's going on, I mean, I don't know. Like you're starting with, you know what I mean? Like you're starting with chaos. Like how can you build from that when it's already crap? Like it's hard to build from there. Put it that way. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I feel like there's not much to say about this one. Like it's pretty solid. I think it furthers the Robbie and Tombstone story in a satisfying way.
Yeah.
Hopefully this continues and we get something good in the future. I have a feeling it's not going to continue on this upward trend, but I'm happy to get this fun one when we've got it.
Well, and the thing is too, the thing I appreciate about this is following Spider-Man's classic supporting cast. Joe Robertson, a little bit of like in Web Spider-Man, it's a little bit of Joy Mercado, Glory Grant. So Gerry Conway's playing with the supporting cast. Whereas in Amazing, it's like, well, let's get Silver Sable in there and Paladin, and let's put them in a country we can't even pronounce. I don't know. I think that's the mistake that they're making in Amazing, you know?
Yeah.
It's just too outside the realm of what we want from Spidey. That's my feeling anyway. I don't know what else to say about this. I mean, I definitely recommend it, though. This is another solid issue of Spectacular Spider-Man. Becca, what do you think?
It was okay. I mean, if you like the Robbie Tombstone stuff, obviously keep reading Spectacular, but
right.
If it wasn't for the podcast, I wouldn't be interested in the Robbie Tombstone stuff to keep reading this arc.
Okay.
It's just not for me.
Right.
And that's not saying you can't like it, Mike. Because we can like different things.
Oh, hold on. Let's take this podcast from the top.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Like, you can like stuff that I don't like, and that's fine. That doesn't make it good or bad.
Oh. Okay.
Just makes it not for me.
Okay.
And also, it was bad.
Okay. Okay, Josh. Do you recommend this? What do you think?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend this one. I do enjoy the Robbie Tombstone stuff.
I do.
When it's not dragged on for like 3 years.
Which it is, but yeah. Okay.
I think you can pick like specific issues that are like important and then just like pull those ones and read it and have like a satisfying story. This one I feel like is an important, satisfying issue that I'm definitely I would definitely read again, especially if I'm gonna go and kind of like read this Robbie stuff. So yeah, it's a recommend.
All right, well there you go, folks. I guess that wraps up this episode of Here Comes the Spider Cast. I want to thank Bex Luthor for joining us.
Anytime, but specifically Tuesdays after 6. Because that's when I book off work to do the podcast. But whatever you need.
We appreciate it. So I'm sure Bex Luthor will be with us next week when we review Web of Spider-Man number 56, featuring the return of the Rocket Racer.
Oh no.
And Amazing Spider-Man 3.
It could have been so worse. You could have said so many other names. But
Rocket Racer. Amazing Spider-Man 323 featuring Captain America, drawn by Todd McFarlane.
Yeah. The cover is iconic.
Yes. And Amazing Spider-Man 324 featuring Sabretooth, drawn by Todd McFarlane. Ooh. He was the secret guy that we didn't know who it was in the shadow.
Kind of looked like Wolverine, so that's
true.
Yeah.
And then also featuring Spectacular Spider-Man number 156 featuring Banjo. No one knows who he is. Ooh. Okay, fine.
And Kazooie? I don't...
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. Okay, it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah.
Who the hell's Banjo?
Don't
Hold
even.
on.
Yeah, you'll find out
No,
a week from now.
I need to
Anyway,
look this up.
okay.
Well,
So yeah,
what
Josh,
the
you can
hell?
take it from here.
I am going to outro.
I
us.
hate him.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. It really, oh my god, I'm looking at the cover right now. Jesus Christ.
Yes.
What the?
Thank you guys so much for listening. You can find all of our podcasts and videos at thecomicbooksyndicate.com. All of our stuff is also wherever you can find podcasts. So Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to stuff, we're there. Leave us a comment or a review. Let us know what you guys think about the podcast and the comics and movies and whatever we're talking about. Let us know your opinion on that, and let's keep that conversation going.
That's right. And until next Monday, Spider Friends, go for it!